It was a dark and stormy night when Dr. Laura Ramirez arrived at the Biohazard research station. The wind howled through the trees, and the rain beat against the windows of the remote laboratory. As she stepped inside, she felt a chill run down her spine. This place was unlike any other she had ever worked in before. Dr. Ramirez had been assigned to the research station to investigate a recent outbreak of a deadly virus that had killed several scientists. As she made her way to the lab, she couldn't help but feel a sense of unease. She had heard rumors that the virus had mutated, and that one of the scientists had become infected and had started exhibiting strange behaviors. As she entered the lab, she found herself face to face with Dr. Jameson, one of the lead researchers on the project. His eyes were bloodshot, and his skin was a sickly shade of green. Dr. Ramirez took a step back, instinctively reaching for her gun. "Dr. Ramirez, I'm glad you made it, Doctor," Jameson said, his voice croaking. "We've been waiting for you." "What's going on here, Jameson?" Dr. Ramirez asked, trying to keep her voice steady. "The virus has mutated, Doctor," Jameson said. "And I'm afraid I've been infected." Dr. Ramirez could hardly believe what she was hearing. She had never seen anything like this before. She knew that the virus was deadly, but she had never heard of it causing mutations in humans. "We need to get you out of here, Doctor," Ramirez said, reaching for her phone. But as she tried to dial for help, she found that there was no signal. "We're trapped, Doctor," Jameson said, his voice growing weaker. "There's no way out." Dr. Ramirez felt a sense of panic rising within her. She knew that she had to find a way out of the lab before it was too late. But as she turned to leave, she heard Dr. Jameson's voice again. "Wait," he said. "There's something I need to show you." Dr. Ramirez turned back to face him, unsure of what to expect. But as she looked into his eyes, she saw a flicker of something familiar. It was the same look that she had seen in her own reflection that morning, a hunger for knowledge that drove her to the edges of the scientific frontier. "What is it?" she asked. "There's a serum, Doctor," Jameson said. "It could save us. But we need to find it." Dr. Ramirez knew that time was running out. She had to find that serum, no matter the cost. Together, she and Dr. Jameson began to search the lab, scouring through files and records in search of any clues. But as they dug deeper, they found themselves faced with increasingly gruesome discoveries. They stumbled upon the remains of the infected scientists, their bodies twisted and contorted in grotesque ways. They found notes describing bizarre experiments involving the manipulation of human DNA and the creation of hybrid organisms. And worst of all, they discovered evidence that someone had deliberately engineered the virus to be more deadly, more contagious, and more unpredictable. As they worked their way through the lab, Dr. Jameson's condition continued to deteriorate. His skin grew rough and scaly, his eyes glowed with an eerie green light, and his voice became more and more distorted. "We're running out of time," he gasped. "We have to find the serum." Dr. Ramirez pressed on, her mind racing with possibilities. She knew that the serum was their only hope, but she also knew that finding it would be like looking for a needle in a haystack. Suddenly, they heard a noise coming from the corridor outside the lab. Dr. Ramirez tensed, her hand going to her gun. They had barricaded themselves inside, but whoever or whatever was out there was determined to get in. Dr. Jameson looked at her, his eyes pleading. "We have to go," he said. "We can't stay here." Dr. Ramirez knew that he was right. They had to find the serum and get out before it was too late. With a deep breath, she unlocked the door and stepped out into the hallway. What she saw made her blood run cold. There were creatures all around them, their bodies twisted and deformed by the virus. They moved with an unnatural grace, their movements fluid and sinuous. Dr. Ramirez raised her gun, but she knew that it was useless against these abominations. "We have to keep moving," she said, grabbing Dr. Jameson's arm. Together, they ran down the corridor, dodging the creatures as they went. Finally, they reached the storage room where the serum was kept. Dr. Ramirez rushed to the shelf and began to search through the vials, looking for the right one. But as she worked, she felt something brush against her leg. She looked down and saw that one of the creatures had managed to sneak up on them. Its eyes glinted in the dim light, and its teeth glowed with an eerie phosphorescence. Dr. Ramirez felt a surge of fear, but she didn't let it show. With a quick movement, she grabbed a vial of serum and threw it at the creature. It shattered against its skin, and the creature let out a deafening shriek. Dr. Ramirez used the distraction to grab another vial and rush back to Dr. Jameson. "We have to get out of here," she said, injecting the serum into Dr. Jameson's arm. "We can't stay here any longer." Dr. Jameson's eyes cleared, and his skin returned to its normal color. He looked at her, his expression filled with gratitude. "Thank you," he said. "You saved my life." Dr. Ramirez smiled weakly. "Let's get out of here," she said, leading the way out of the storage room. As they made their way back through the lab, they encountered more of the mutated creatures. But Dr. Ramirez was determined to get them out alive. She used every trick in her arsenal, dodging and weaving between the creatures, using her gun as a last resort. Finally, they made it to the exit. They stepped outside into the cool night air, breathing a sigh of relief. But as they looked back at the lab, they knew that they had only narrowly escaped with their lives. "We have to report this, Dr. Ramirez said, her voice shaking. "We can't let this happen again." Dr. Jameson nodded. "You're right," he said. "But first, we need to make sure that we're both okay." Dr. Ramirez smiled weakly. "Agreed," she said. "Let's get out of here, together." They walked away from the Biohazard research station, their hearts pounding with the memory of the horrors they had seen. But they knew that they had faced the darkness and emerged victorious. And that was something to be proud of.